shots in tight a lot, and we missed a lot of free throws. But you know, other than that, which I know those are two pretty key things, but the guys got the ball where they need to get it for the most part. We didn't have a ton of turnovers. I think we had 12. And defensively, they made some shots at the end of the clock that were pretty challenged and things like that. But it was not a 20-point game. It never was going to be. But it could have been, easily a 15-point game, and then everybody would probably think we played a lot better just on making layups or just on making a couple more free throws. And then, of course, you got to eliminate layups. You got to eliminate threes. That's always been our philosophy on that. That's easier said than done. But Holy Cross does their back doors very, very well. I'll be shocked if they don't get some, just because you got to kind of go away from your principles in how you defended for the first 2 months of the season and said, okay, guys, for these next 3 days we're going to guard this way. You really can't help off shooters, but it's different because any dribble that's a back door, any screen away is a back door, any reverse pivot's a back door. Anytime the guard has it in the top, he throws it to the wings, quick fade. I mean, there's some things about it that you can get used to guarding, but when you do the same thing, and they have several actions off of it, when you do the same thing over and over and over, you may defend the first 4 good, but the 5th time they may get an uncontested layup. So that you got to be really disciplined to defend the entire clock. That's one of the reasons why we scheduled Holy Cross is because it's a style that you could run into later on in the season. But when you think about the Princeton style, you think of a Pete Carrillo, obviously, but Bill Carmody was his assistant. Bill Carmody knows this better than anybody. So anything that you do, he'll have a counter to what you try to do. So but it's Coach Besdelic at Colorado ran it for years. We had to defend that, and of course. JT3 does it at Georgetown, although it's a varied version. So we've had a little bit of Beeline at Michigan ran a version of it a few years ago. So we've had at least some experience defending it. And then when I was at Illinois, we played Bill, twice a year, every year. So at least I think we played him twice a year. The Big Ten schedule was all jacked up, so I don't know if it's once or twice, maybe one of those years. But certainly we've had a chance to defend his stuff. I think there's a strategy of scheduling, and Larry Keating is really good at it, but we've done an unbelievable job with that over time because you obviously you need to win, but you also need to do something to boost your resume, and we've been pretty successful in doing that. And then you also want to play styles that may give you an opportunity to prepare you for down the road. So playing Holy Cross, I think, accomplishes a lot of those things. Very disappointingly, we're not a great rebounding team yet. I thought we'd be a better rebounding team. But, if Mari's starting, he's not a big guy, and Perry's not a go out and get you 10 boards a game guy. So some of our better rebounders are on the bench. So we got to do a better job of doing that. Wayne's got to rebound the ball better. You guys bragged about Frank being such a great defensive rebounder, and he got a whole one. If I'm not mistaken, in that last game, so I appreciate that, fellas. But we got to do better. But whenever a team turns the ball over a lot, you're never going to get as many rebounds. So, some people say, well, you're minus this in rebounding, but they had 15 turnovers the first half, so there's 15 less opportunities for you to get a defensive rebound. So that can be a little bit, embellished. That we didn't rebound the ball well at all, because that's not true. I think what you could really look at to determine if we're a good defensive rebounding team is their offensive rebound percentage or our defensive rebound percentage. And so I think ours is second in the league right now. So we've done a decent job. We just haven't done a great job on offensive glass. The thing that's the hardest to guard is the ball. And whenever the ball beats you, however it does, whether off the bounce, off the pass, off a screen that forces help, whatever it is, it forces rotations, and then now you're asking guards to rotate to rebound, and that's something that we're not great at yet, and we certainly got to get better as our rotation rebounding. If the ball's in front of you and they shoot, I just got to block Gary out, which would be very, very easy, I think, right now. You agree, Gary?
Yeah.
I think it would be you get a much higher percentage, but when I got to go help over here and somebody else has to block my man out, that's when rotation rebounding becomes a big deal, and the great teams do it very, very well, and we haven't gotten there yet. Whatever gives you a hard time guarding then you should try to implement that in your office to make sure that you give them a hard time guarding. And you know, to be real candid, if that ball gets to the third side, it gives you a chance, defensive team, a much bigger chance to break down. Oh, it is a puzzle. It is a puzzle. You know, the early season games, what I was hopeful, of course, and we didn't have Cheick early on, but what I was hopeful is we'd use the games until Christmas to decide on, okay, who's our best players. But we haven't got there yet. I mean, because we're not going to be able to play 6 guys equal minutes in conference play. We know that. But it would be nice to see some separation. And it's hard to see separation when some guys haven't got as many opportunities as others. So, you know, just to be real candid with you, Hunter, and I said this yesterday on my radio show, Hunter's one of those guys. It's not that anybody else has done anything bad, but why would we want to go into conference play without seeing what he can do? Because he really hadn't had a chance to show it. And you could say the same thing for Carlton. And you could say the same thing for Cheick. So, you know, Landen to me has had a chance. Perry's had a chance, obviously. You know, Jamari's had chances. And I'm not saying those guys aren't going to play. They're going to play. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not demoting none of that stuff. But I do think we need to make a conscious effort to try to get those other guys as many minutes, so that way we have a true understanding of what our team is. I don't want to go into February saying, you know, I think maybe, you know, because that's not the best way to do it. And sometimes, guys, somebody will play better in games than they do in practice too, if you give them a chance. And I've given everybody a chance to play, but I haven't given Hunter really a chance yet. But anybody thinks it's easy to squeeze 6 guys into 80 minutes, you know, doesn't really understand it. It's kind of hard to do when one of them's a preseason homer. But the whole thing is you got to win the game too. You know, there's no question. I don't care what anybody says. You know, the guys that we played the other night gave us the best chance to win the Harvard game. You know, when you're green and raw and everything's new to you, it's a lot of times, I don't know if you guys remember, but Julian Wright, Mario Chalmers, and a lot of our freshmen have struggled when they first get out there because it's just different. It's a different deal, and you know, we don't want to lose games at the expense of guys getting playing time. But certainly, the Harvard game going into it was a game that I thought that we could play some guys some more minutes, and they played so well, we kind of screwed the game up that we didn't allow ourselves a chance to do that. I think he's emerged as our best defender. And I think that's a good thing, because he needs to take that off Frank. And Wayne needs to be more active. And you know, we're not that deep on the perimeter at all. Right now, we're just playing 4 guys, basically. Of course, BG's out, and you know, LeGerald is another guy that really hadn't had a chance yet. But you know, it's hard, guys, to, you know, you can't play 12 guys. It's hard to play 12 guys, and certainly, I mean, no team in the country does it. But we'll get our rotation down to a solid 9, and probably 5 perimeter and 5 bigs, and hopefully by conference play that we'll know what we're doing. But if you look at our stats, and I think stats are so misleading non-conference, because the only stats that really matter are conference stats, because those are the only ones where you play comparable competition. But if you look at our stats, I think we're 9th in the league in field goal percentage defense at 40.9%, which is horrible compared to teams that we've had here in the past. The last 2 or 3 years, we've taken a little bit of a step backwards from that season 37, 38, year in and year out. So we've got to do some things to get our field goal percentage defense back at a lower clip. But if you look at who we played so far and things like that, I mean, you know, Michigan State, they shot 56 against us in the second half, and ended up shooting 50 on the game. So with only a small sample size, you have 2 teams shoot close to 50%. That's definitely going to be skewed a little bit. But we need to do a much better job of limiting good possessions. And for the most part, I think we're average. I think we're pretty good at it, but I don't think we have that killer instinct yet.